Alright y'all, so welcome back to another one. So it has been just about 3 years since I built this boat, and thought I'd give you guys a little bit of an update, as well as kind of give you guys a boat tour. Right now, how I've had this boat, it's kind of got everything in it, every way I fish. We're right at that time of year. And I get a lot of questions about my equipment stuff, so I thought I'd kind of cover both bases here in this video. So I'll just start off right here. I want to start from the back and move my way forward, and I'll just kind of talk my way through. All right, so first things first, I get a lot of questions on the motor. Yes, this is a tiller handle. I did have to do some custom work to get the tiller handle actually mounted to the power head, but I'm running the 200 Mercury Verado Pro. So it's a supercharged inline 6 motor. It pushes this boat pretty good. How I have this boat propped right now, I can do about 48 mile an hour wide open. If I prop it a little different way, which I did originally, I can get about 51, 52 mile an hour out of it. Problem is it raises my cruising RPMs range quite a bit. And in all honesty, I run this boat very consistently right around that 28 to 31 mile an hour. That's a good economical speed, as well as, you know, it's just fast enough. This motor here, if you run it wide open, she'll burn about 24 gallons an hour. So, you know, you got to put that into consideration with gas being $3.50 a gallon. So anyway, very happy with how the motor performs. It gets this boat right up and out of the water, even being, you know, a 4,000 pound boat. Right now I'm running a 4-blade prop on it. All right, so I'll just kind of move forward back through here. So as I've got this boat set up right now, I've got everything in this boat to where I can catfish, I can white bass fish, and I can crappie fish. Those are the 3 main species that I target throughout the summer. And you guys can see, I did not clean this boat for y'all. This is how it sets, and in the last 2 weekends, I've fished all 3 species. So I've got stuff in this boat for everything. You guys can see I've got all sorts of different rods down the gunnel. Obviously, I've got my stuff for drift fishing for channel right here. I've got planer boards. I've got everything kind of spread out, and I really like that. I know a lot of people that really freaks them out whenever they got stuff out in the open, but I love having stuff out in the open where I'm not having to dig through boxes and you know, storage and everything like that. To me, it's just easier. I've got a big enough boat here. This thing's stored inside, so I can run right down the highway as this boat sits. So I'll start from the back here. Obviously, behind this main seat, as you guys can see, I've got a little tray that I welded in. This holds my cooler for a majority of the year. I can strap it in, keep it up off the floor. During the middle of the summer months, it holds my big weight box. This is just a tackle box that fits just perfect inside that tray. I can hold a ton of my big river weights, so it just works out real nice. It's right there at the back of the boat. Moving forward here, we've got our rod trees. I've done a video on these. These are extendable. I use these for catfishing as well as for trolling, but you know, I use these as a rod rack for catfishing good majority of the time. Of course, we got our first live well here. I've got my big cutting board. I can mount this either on my gunnel, or a lot of times I'll just set it right up there and work off of that. Going back to my rear electronics, so I have 4 units in this boat. I run 2 Helix 12. They're Gen 2 side scan, down scan units. They're linked together along with the Altera in the front. So I've got that. That's my main navigational unit here, as well as I use it for the side scan. I've also got a Garmin 1022 right here that I use for mapping and for live scope. I can use my live scope transducer. I could set it back here and use it. I'll show you the pole up front, but yeah, it's nice having 2 different brands of units with mapping on them. You would be amazed at the difference, especially from lakes to lakes. I fish quite a few different lakes, so it's nice to have that variation. You know, it really does help. All right, so moving forward, we got a wash down pump. I'll never own another boat again without my wash down pump. I got my bait cooler in here since we've been catfishing. So moving forward, we've got all these rod holders. These are the Folby rod holders. They're about to come out because we're about to switch this boat over for fall and winter crappie fishing. But you know, I've done videos on these too. one button push and you can take them in and out. Super handy. I use them for trolling as well as for catfishing. So I really enjoy that. I've got vertical rod tubes right here on the side. On both sides I can hold 6 rods, and it's real handy whenever we're moving spots catfishing. You can just reel up, put them vertical. You're not having them hang out the back of the boat bouncing around. Just makes it super convenient. Got a couple dry storage box here. You know, these are just nice waterproof box, 3 keys, cell phone, whatever in there. Of course, it's summertime now, it's hot. Got the Milwaukee fan here. That's a must. So I've got a couple of these because I use a completely different set of rods for my big river fishing, and then for the small lakes where we only have channel cats. So I use a lot lighter rod. This is kind of a rocket launcher style rod holder that I just mount. I can put it in any seat pedestal throughout this boat, and makes it just real nice to take stuff in and out, and kind of keeps all your stuff organized. So moving down throughout the gunnels, obviously you guys can see I've got rods all down through these gunnels. I really like that fact of having what I can grab out here. Obviously right here you can see there's my rod locker. I can hold 14-foot rods in there. I've got, I don't know, another half a dozen or so in there, but for the most part I like to keep my stuff out in the open where I can grab it and access it easily. So as many of you guys know, whenever I built this boat, I kind of designed it 2 different ways. I built the back end of the boat primarily to catfish out of, and then the front of the boat was more geared towards the crappie, the 2 main species that I fish for. So you can see I can have all this room for activities right here, especially with the boat being a tiller, and I've got all this floor space here. Obviously I've been catfishing all summer, so the boat is just absolutely nasty. It's probably about due for its yearly wash down. But I built this boat to use, so I'm not that concerned with it. So that's kind of the back end of the boat here. Let me kind of flip the camera around a little bit, and we'll move up and I'll show you more or less the front end of the boat. But before I do, I'll give you some specs. So motor right now, I just checked it. Main motor, like I said, I've had this boat for 3 years, going on 3 years. Motor's got 438 hours on it. So, you know, even for a recreational fisherman, that's quite a few hours, considering I don't make a lot of long runs. This main depth finder back here, which honestly does not get used much in the winter time, but it's got just over 1,600 hours on it. So, you know, definitely I've put some use on this boat. The trailer, I just put my 2nd set of tires on the trailer. It's got about 26,000 miles on it in 3 years. So definitely use this boat. I use it quite a bit. All right, so moving forward in the boat, we're kind of in this center section right now. We've got a seat pedestal right here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seat pedestals in this boat. So I've got all sorts of options. Obviously, have one for the driver, and then 2 is mainly geared towards the catfish, and we sit side by side there about the center of the boat. This one here is mainly used for filming purposes, but it does give the option for somebody to sit right in the center of the boat. So anyway, we're sitting right here. This is kind of my step up from the floor of the boat and stepping up to the front deck of the boat. We've got a couple 8-inch steps here, but underneath here is where I've got my fuel tank and all my batteries. I'm running low lithium now. You guys saw the video. Very happy with that. Couldn't be more happier with that, actually. I get a lot of comments and concerns about the putting the fuel tank and the batteries together. And my question is you ever seen any commercial boat out there made? They all stick them all together, but nonetheless. Anyway, so move up here. I've got a big 2-inch ram mount right here. This is what I mount my grill to. I can mount my grill. I've also got a big cutting board that I can mount stuff to. It's just nice to have this stuff all around the boat. Got 2 more sets here of rod tubes, 3 and 3. I primarily use these for my crappie fishing. I use a lot of long poles, and a lot of times it's just easier to set them in these rocket launchers or rod tubes whenever you're moving spot to spot and you're not laying them down in the boat. So they're right here, they're right handy, get them off the front deck of the boat. I've got everything on a track system here, so it works out really nice. So also here, you guys will see these, I've got my couple of canopies and tarps here. probably one of the best things that I ever did whenever I built this boat is I integrated this Bimini top into the boat. A lot of you guys will see the Bimini tops, and the way they're set up with them being the exact same width of the boat, they either have to be laid in the back, like across the back seat, which is what I had in a couple of my old boats, which kind of screws the guy in the back of the boat fishing, or else you've got to constantly leave the thing in a halfway up position, which is just a pain to begin with anyway. I never did like that style. So whenever I built this boat, I actually cut down this Bimini top. You can see I've made it the inside width of the gunnels, and what that allows me to do is lay this Bimini top down inside the boat, and it gets it out of the way. It lays it completely flat. You don't have to worry about it. And that way it's always in the boat, because my struggle was I would always take the Bimini out, you know, depending on if you had a bunch of guys fishing or whatever. So really it wasn't in the boat any more than it needed to be. This is always here. I've got my umbrella here. I use this umbrella in the front of the boat. You know, obviously we're fishing, I live in an area where it's hot, you know, it's 100 degrees in the summer, so it's nice to have some shade. This umbrella sits into seat pedestals that I made here. I can move this thing around, I can tilt it, I can sit at any one of those front seat pedestals. Makes it real nice. You know, it's just comfortable, right? Another thing I will mention about that Bimini is I have this Bimini that's 102 inches wide for this boat, but by cutting it down, I ended up getting like a little bit of curtain on that Bimini. You know, the problem with these Biminis is once that sun gets so low, which normally is, you know, sometimes the hottest part of the day, you kind of lose all the effect of the Bimini. But by having those curtains, I actually gain about 2 more hours of usage out of this Bimini. So anyway, that's that section of the boat. We'll move up to the front deck here. Obviously got the big bathtub 100-gallon live well. I honestly use it more for storage than I use it for anything, but it's there if I ever need it. So let me get the camera tilted back up here and we'll move forward. All right, so moving forward here, sitting on the front deck, like I said, I really enjoy the size of this front deck. I had a lot of people tell me it just wasn't big enough, and I think it's about 8 foot worth of front deck space, and it's perfect for what I do for you know, crappie fish and what little bit of casting I do off the front of the boat. But anyway, of course, we got all our storage compartments everywhere. You guys can watch my boat build videos if you want to see how those all turn together. Anyway, I'm sitting on my big cooler. Like I said, it's hot right now, you know, 95 degrees. And even though I've got 3 live wells in this boat, if I'm gonna keep fish in the summertime, normally I just keep this big cooler here and fill it full of ice, and I can just take it in and out. I mean, it's just whatever, but I end up using a cooler, honestly, more than I use the live wells. I've got 3 of them to choose from. So anyway, moving to the front deck of the boat here, you guys can see I've got my 2 main command stations here, my 2 big units. I've got a Garmin 1222. It's strictly a live scope unit, and then I've got a Humminbird, I've got a Helix 12 that I use for down scan, side scan, and mapping. All the transducers are set up on the Altera themselves. I also run a second live scope transducer. You can see what this pole is. This is kind of a remote pole. It makes it nice because whenever that Altera is anchored, if you're fishing a brush pilot, the course is going all wonky, and I can use this pole and kind of fine tune my degree. I still use the transducer on the trolling motor 95% of the time, but this is nice. Also, one nice thing about this is because I have this mounted on my track system that I built throughout this boat, I can actually take this pole and I can move it to the back. And if I'm fishing white bass, trolling around and stuff, I can use it. Or if I have a second person in the boat that's, you know, we're sitting on a school of fish, they have the ability to have the live scope technology, you know, right there at them, and I can have mine and we can be separated. So it makes it really nice for that application. Of course, got a couple speakers up here as well as down there. So we got good tunes if you want them. I've also got several of these Millennium tree single rod holders here. I don't do near as much spider rigging as I used to, but still do quite a bit, and I still leave a couple of them up here just for holding rods, you know, just whenever we're jig fishing or long pole fishing. But you you know, I got the capability set up here that we can push 4 rods off each side or spider rig that way. Just makes it nice. Got another Millennium, I've got the butt seat here. I run Millennium seats throughout everything you guys have seen. They're by far the best seat. I always get a lot of questions on the Millennium seats, and you know, are they worth the money? And 100%, most comfortable boat seat I've ever sat in. So anyway, I'll move this cooler out of the way here. So I get a ton of questions on if I've ever changed anything, or you know, what would I change in this boat. And this is actually one thing that I did change. Obviously, you guys know whenever I built this boat, and in the fall, about 2 months later, LiveScope actually came out, and you know, hate it or love it, whatever. I embrace the LiveScope technology quite a bit, and it's a fun way to fish. So whenever I built this boat, I built the front deck strictly for spider rigging, where I had a lot of separation in my front seats, and they were set up with proper distances, you know, to fish out the front of the boat. With LiveScope, you're more looking at your screen all the time. So I actually ended up adding one more seat pedestal here, the one that I'm sitting in. This puts me right up in the face of the actual unit here, and I've built my custom. I got a custom mount that I built here. It actually extends up another 18 inches. They get right in my face. So that is one thing that I did change, but really, other than that, not anything else has really changed. Just a little different way of fishing now than, you know, we did just a few years back. So anyway, that's kind of the tour, guys. You know, I get a lot of questions on equipment stuff, so I thought I'd do this short video for you guys. Try to keep it short enough. So a couple things also, you know, obviously these videos have been out and they've got hundreds of thousands of views on them now. So, you know, most common misconception about this boat, and I'll go over the specs real quick. So this boat here, it's 25 foot long from transom to nose of tip, 3/16 plate aluminum, all the way around, sides and bottom. Boat weighs about 4,000 pounds as it sits right now. Fuel and gear, obviously got the 200 pushing it. But the most common misconception that I get is that it's a John boat, and that's not the case. This is not a John boat. This boat has a 15-degree V hull throughout the entire length of the boat. It comes up to a 28-degree, which is not quite as pronounced or severe of a nose as a lot of your deep V's, but it is a V bottom all the way through. And you have to remember, where you're taking your water and breaking your water a good majority of the time is actually right here, you know, back into the boat several feet. It's not actually up there. This boat handles big water very, very well. It rides really well just because it's so heavy and so long. You don't dip down in the troughs of the waves, you bridge them more than anything. So I've had this boat in about the biggest waves I've had it is about 5 footers. I mean, it takes them. Like I said, you're being cautious, but I mean, it takes 3 footers all day and you can just run straight across them, no problem. So like I said, 440 hours basically, you know, I've put on this boat. So I mean, I can tell you I've run it through, you know, a lot of scenarios. Sides, I get a lot of question on the sides. I've got 28-inch sides on this boat. A lot of people ask, how's the controllability? Obviously with LiveScope, you know, that's boat control. That boat control is very key, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. But honestly, this boat is so heavy, it doesn't move around like you think it would with the wind. Not only that, I have the ability, if I want to, I can fill this front live well here. I can fill the very front live well and the back live well. I can actually put 150 gallons of water in this boat if I want to, and I have before if you're fishing in real rough water, and it'll sink this boat down about 4 inches and really take the balance and sink it down in the water where you've got, you know, superb control. So anyway, guys, I hope that covers a few things. Like I said, I could spend hours and hours talking about this boat. But I thought I'd just make this short kind of boat tour update video, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, this is about as messy as you're gonna see this boat. Figures. Them guys are about to be gone. Water cools down just a little bit more and you won't see them. So anyway, I thought I'd make this short video. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I can do another update video, but I wanted to do this video while this boat was geared for everything. Like I said, we're going to be switching over to more of a crappie fishing application here for the next few months. So a lot of this stuff is actually going to come out, and we're going to gear more towards crappie. So it will clean up quite a bit. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you got any questions, definitely leave them down below in the comments. I'll try to answer them as best I can. With that being said, y'all, as always, appreciate the view. See you on the next one.